thank you very much for inviting me today to speak about civic education in Germany. And I would like to talk to you about why do we have it, what's so special about our civic education in Germany, and how do we do it. And I am German, as I was introduced already. Thank you very much. And I had the opportunity to visit several civic education programs and take part in civic education organizations throughout my whole life. And maybe that's something very special about Germany, that we do have a lot of opportunities to take part in civic education. And I'd like to tell you why. So the background is, weiter bitte. The background is that, I'd also like to introduce our foundation, the Friedrich Naumann Foundation. You have already done so, thank you. Friedrich Naumann was a politician and a political thinker and one of the early advocates, pioneers of civic education in Germany. He lived 100 years ago and was the mentor of our first federal president, who founded the foundation and called it after Friedrich Naumann. And Friedrich Naumann said at a time when in Germany we were experimenting with democratic institutions. They were very new and also weak at that time. He was saying that you need more than just institutions. You actually need democratic citizens. What are democratic citizens? Democratic citizens are those ones who actively take part in politics, who engage in discussions, and who can hold their elected representatives and the government accountable. For that, you need civic education. And actually, German history, unfortunately, proved him right. You know probably about a very dark chapter in German history, the Hitler regime. Hitler brought the Second World War, destruction all over the world. He killed millions of people, and that is something that we Germans are very ashamed of. So we do ask ourselves very often, and when we look at our history, how could this happen? How could Hitler take over? And specifically because we all also have a personal history there. Members of our families were maybe involved or even cheering to him on the streets, and we look at the institutions, and we see at that time Germany had a very weak parliament. So people were frustrated with parliamentary decision-making processes. They were looking for a strong leader, and when one came, he could easily overwhelm parliamentary institutions and take over and establish a dictatorship. But there were people cheering to him. A lot of people were happy that he took over initially, and we asked ourselves why. And one of the answers is, there are many answers, but one is that he was very successful in taking over educational institutions. And he was also successful in mainstreaming or dominating civil society. And Friedrich Naumann had said that you need active citizens who are aware of their rights, and at that time they were few only. So Friedrich Naumann was proven, unfortunately, right, that to continue to maintain, to have a democracy that flourishes, you need active citizens. After the Second World War, there were two systems established, one in East Germany, one in West Germany. In East Germany, we had another autocratic socialist regime. In West Germany, we established institutions that are still in place today. And the founding fathers of our West German Republic at that time were looking at our history and saying, how can we prevent what happened? So this idea is still shaping our institutions today. And the answer was checks and balances. You need checks and balances, but not only horizontal ones. as you traditionally know from political science, but we have a lot of vertical checks and balances introduced in Germany. For example, and it was very easy to establish, if we look at a German map, we do have a federal system. That means in the federal states of Germany, there are also power centers who can take decisions, who can check those decisions in Berlin, and who also take part in decision-making in Berlin, in our capital. To establish a federal system was fairly easy because Germany was actually founded on a federal basis. When Germany was founded, it were strong states coming together and even strong municipalities at that time with a number of centuries experience in strong local administration, some of the city-states, for example. Then we have public broadcasting, which is state-funded but is independent, which also provides checks and balances. And we have the citizen. So the German citizen is expected to also check his government, his elected representatives and parliament specifically. And so we say he does have a certain responsibility to take part, not only in voting, but also monitoring what's happening in our parliament and talking about politics in public, participating in parties maybe, and to encourage this, civic education is a tool. So civic education offers a platform on which people can engage and discuss and can also practice how to become politically active. So how do we do it in Germany? Weiter? So we have learned from our German history that that education in general can be easily misused if there's only one agency taking control of it. So we have a multiplicity of agents offering civic educations. Amongst those, of course, is the government. And the government adheres to very specific rules of civic education, standards of civic education, which we are very, which we implement very strictly. And those are that in civic education, you do not teach just one viewpoint. You offer a multiplicity, a plurality of viewpoints, and the participants can choose and learn to discuss several viewpoints, and actually dissent is encouraged because we think that the more ideas there are in one room, the better it is for the outcome of the discussion. So the more there is discussions, the better quality you have when the decision is made amongst those participating. And these kind of standards are implemented in our school education. Of course, civic education is naturally part of school curriculum, either by introducing a subject on it, called civic education, or it's a smaller unit of political science, but also in history classes, in German classes where we do read books and discuss what's part of the stories of the books. And to all of these classes, those standards need to be adhered to. We do have specific civic education agencies in Germany on federal level as well as on state level. And those offer information materials. So when I was young, I could just go there and pick something up. Nowadays, you just click on a web page and download it. And again, there, a number of different viewpoints are presented. And what's fairly new and what everybody really finds very cool in Germany is a tool that we have online and also as a application. And let me show you. Maybe I have it here. It looks like this. And so you can have it in your pocket anytime. In any election that's coming up, and because we do have a number of elections in Germany on federal, state level, you can answer some questions, and the programs of political parties are collected there in a very unbiased way. So the Civic Education Agency asks questions to the parties, and the parties answer those questions. And on the basis of those questions, they will then tell you which party comes closest to your answer. They don't recommend to vote it, but they just give you an idea what could be the party that's answering your questions in the way you would. And it's very successful. Everyone does it nowadays, and people are often very surprised about the party they are then seeing as the outcome of this questionnaire. As I said, we have a lot of agencies offering civic education, so the government is only one. And the idea is that we have so many because they offer a multiplicity of ideas and solutions to political problems. And what's Germany probably most famous for is its civil society. So every German is part of a number of civil society organizations, associations, and I'm not only talking about civic ones or political ones, but about the sports club, about the local fire brigade in your community, about the association that is maybe hosting one of the annual celebrations to celebrate your village history. And I was also part of many of those associations, part of our normal life. And the associations were recognized by a political thinker 200 years back already in France, Alexis de Tocqueville. I don't know if any one of you has heard of him. He at that time researched about democracy and its implementation in America, in the US. And he said, there's one thing that's very often unrecognized, and a very similar idea to Friedrich Naumann. He said it's the civil society that shapes democracy. That's a very important pillar of any democracy. And he looked at the number of associations in the US at that time and said there are astonishing much very active associations. And the more you have, the more solid is any democracy. So if you look at Germany, we do have many. And it's part of our culture to be part of it, to become a member of one of those. In those associations, we practice democracy by implementing very normal democratic rules, like we elect our leaders, we discuss topics, we have certain voting structures, how to vote on topics, we elect our auditors who reports regularly if there's everything okay with finances. And in Germany, we have an association law governing the rules in every association. So if I register an association, it needs to function according to these, to the German association law. And for example, if I notice in my association that someone wants to become a leader for life, I can challenge him by going to a German court. And equally, you can become a member of a party and also practice democracy there. And I said we have a federal system, and also parties work according to this federal system. So if you want to become an MP on national level, you would need to work your way up all the way from the local level, where you maybe discuss parking lots or any issues in your community, by being elected to the state level, and then only later to the national level. So there is a lot of training on the job involved, and It's quite hard work, a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions. And also parties are governed by the German party law. And it's similar to the associations. The party law says how we should vote, which way parties are controlled within the party, how to audit finances and so on. Thank you. And which role the party also plays politically is part of our constitution. Even the German constitution says the parties take part in shaping the political will of the citizens. So, in order to do that, we have foundations affiliated to parties, of which the Naumann Foundation is one of them. There are 6 foundations, and they work in Germany, mainly in Germany, offering civic educations, but also around the world. And it's very clear if you visit a seminar of our foundation, we promote a certain value, and that adds to the transparency of the system. So if you come to us, we have a number of opinions which we offer according to standards of civic education. And you will also be presented by an opinion that we think promotes freedom. And freedom is part of our name. It's a very complex German name. You see Friedrich Naumann mentioned there, Foundation for Freedom. And we work in more than 60 countries around the world. And amongst those, of course, in Thailand. And in Thailand, we have developed some interesting tools which we think promote civic education very participatory, because our goal is to encourage participation, and so we think that the tools we need to use need also be participatory, to encourage people to discuss. And one of those is Sim Democracy. It's a board game, and you can have a look at it outside. My colleagues will be happy to share it with you. And it's for students and us to play, to practice democracy elections, how it would be to run a government. Another tool which we developed is Dream Thailand. It's a platform where young people, but also in future we will discuss it with everyone, can share their ideas and dreams, aspirations about Thailand. And we've done that in many provinces around the country. And these are tools which now our Civic Education Agency in Germany is interested to learn about. So it's an interesting exchange around the world. What are the best and most interesting and newest technology to promote civic education? And communication also changes. Earlier, when you were taking part in a party, when you were discussing topics, we were sitting in a room over the weekend, maybe a full weekend, and was quite a dense air. Nowadays, people feel like they should be able to discuss things everywhere on their smartphones, and so we have developed online tools and apps also for Dream Thailand and Sim Democracy. And we'd be very happy to share them with you and keep in touch with you. And please ask our colleagues more about those. They'll be happy to share. Thank you very much for your attention.